Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. So with the way the industry is going right now, we're hearing about leaks all over the place, and so far there are rumors that Warner Brothers, there's some leaks that have come out about their E3 cancellation that would have revealed specific games. Now, how true this is, I do not know. One thing about Warner Brothers is a lot of the information surrounding what they're doing is very cryptic. They have a very tight lid on things, but based on what Kotaku had actually, reported a while ago about E3 being a most likely date to have this so-called Batman game announcement, I think this is probably starting to line up as something. But with the cancellation of E3, it just goes to show that, we will not be able to confirm anything until at least June. But then right now, what's going on in the industry is a lot of, studios are starting to reveal their games regardless of any big event. Look at Ubisoft just released Assassin's Creed Valhalla. They did a reveal art and then they did a reveal trailer and they're going with it. And I think a lot more other, video game companies are probably going to start taking this step in order for them to leverage the audience that is basically been, release starved for the past few months. I mean, sure, we've had some releases, but there have also been others that have been either delayed, even leaked, like The Last of Us, and has become a dumpster fire. People might be willing to turn their sights on other games right now, and Warner Brothers might be wanting to leverage the newly found attention of people searching for perhaps other titles. And so the leaker is basically, pointing towards June as a potential time for Warner Brothers to reveal what they have in stock. Now, What Gaming Culture is the YouTube channel that was the first to actually report on this. So if you want to actually see their perspective, they're a big YouTube channel. I'm just a little guy in the corner here, but they did share a post that confirmed some things that has already been leaking in some communities of Warner Brothers games. Example, the person that's leaked, that's, probably bringing this news, talked about some combat characters in Mortal Kombat 11. Now, Mortal Kombat 11 community, I actually, cover some content there. If you look on my channel, I already knew about these characters as DLC characters for the Combat Pack 2, potentially. But looking again at the list that the person had, they did not have Melina, which either means Melina might be under wraps, behind in the studio, or they just don't have her in this combat pack. Another thing too is they also had some characters that have also been talked about, but the thing is you kind of have to line up the person's list of characters and then the list of characters that have leaked within the community, and what you're going to see is some of them do correlate and some of them don't. And then they also talked about a Hitman game. They also talked about a new Mortal Kombat Edition 2, and then they also included this Batman game that will have the Court of Owls, Ra's al Ghul, and all our expected villains or expected, sidekick heroes that are going to come with this game. So I think right now the shyness is starting to wane because right now everything going on around the world seems to be taking kind of a slow progression to some light at the end of the tunnel. So, people are starting to kind of emerge back. Things are starting to go back to, full functionality, to some capacity anyways, functionality. And I think Warner Brothers is going to leverage this time to actually release the game, because other aspects too that you have to think about and look about is, think about everything that is still scheduled to happen in holiday 2020. I mean, Assassin's Creed game is scheduled for holiday 2020. There are many video games that were most likely even scheduled for holiday 2020, like The Last of Us 2. The rumors around that game right now are starting to shine so much light. Even people had been talking within the studio, sources within the studio are saying that they had actually canceled the game indefinitely to move it to holiday 2020. But now that, a lot of the beans have been spilled, they've decided to actually drop, the game in June. So maybe this Batman game is probably going to be announced, and the so-called leaker is actually pointing towards holiday 2020, which is something that actually somewhat correlates with a lot of the insider information that this is probably going to cross over into the next gen, but will have some current gen, presence as well, so that people do not, freak out and say, oh, this is just for this gen. And then the aspect too that, kind of makes me really come to say these particular reports need to have, some attention, just, looking at it. I mean, take it with a grain of salt, but at least look at it. It does include, Injustice 3, which is a game that, a lot of the NetherRealm community have been waiting for on the superhero side of things. A lot of people have been waiting for a second Injustice 2 game, especially with the way Injustice 1 was. The game was not as popular as it could have been because it did have the whole DC cloak on it, but largely Injustice and NRS fighting games, have just been really in their own little spot. Mortal Kombat has always taken, the bigger audience than Injustice, because Mortal Kombat has been a almost, 29-year franchise by now. So Injustice 3 is according to the rumors, slated to be, coming in 2022. And that is supposedly Warner Brothers, next gen exclusive game that they're going to be bringing out. I purposefully say this, that, I keep hope, but at the same time, I have to maintain skepticism, because a lot of what we're hearing, in some cases conflict each other. Some cases they line up with one another. And so you have to really wade through a lot of the bogus stuff to kind of figure out what all is going on. And I think another thing that's really interesting is, just a few weeks ago, Angry Joe and some other news outlets, Angry Joe is not a news outlet, but he does cover news going on in the community, let me put it that way. And it was reported that Warner Brothers had actually turned down a pitch by Rocksteady to do a Superman game. Actually, this is something that has been reporting because some pictures started to leak again. And so it's quite interesting why Warner Brothers does not want to do a Superman game. I mean, I think I know the reason. It's probably not going to be a money bringer. I think that's what's going on right now, because on the horizon right now, Superman is on the back burner with their other, entertainment sources. So Batman is what's on the forefront. There's a Batman movie in the making right now. And so a Batman game, to me, seems to be the sensible way for them to be able to promote a lot more Batman material. And having proven and tested that a Batman game is a heavy seller, I don't think Warner Brothers considers it a smart business opportunity to go for a Superman game. Now, just because they don't consider it so does not mean that the Superman game cannot be a heavy seller. We in the community that are Superman fans and are dreaming about this stuff, basically we know that Superman can be a good seller. It just has to be done very well. And I think, perhaps it hasn't been sold well. And the fact that there hasn't been a good household name in the gaming aspect for Superman, it just probably makes the publishing company shy away from it. Whereas Batman, at any time, any day, you can, flick a booger Batman game and it's probably going to sell some really good copies versus the uncertainty that will go into a Superman game. Now, I think a Superman game can be done. I've made multiple videos, covering that and talking about different lore aspects, character arcs, stories. And I'm just, a noob. And I'm sure there are more talented writers and gifted writers in these studios, or who have been exposed to these things, that have pitched these things to Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers has still gone ahead to turn it down. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to the money. So is Warner Brothers going to be sitting on this so-called Batman game? Are they going to be sitting on their other IPs? Or are they going to actually start to let the cat out of the bag little by little? Are we probably going to get a logo somewhere, as Warner Brothers Montreal had been doing in the past before they kind of stopped all of that? Are we going to get any hints from them? Are we going to get anything that points? So these are a lot of questions that people within the community are asking. And I think right now is actually a good time to, at least put the information there. Because, May is right here at our doorstep. June is going to be following, and everybody was expecting something announced at the middle of the year. So in my opinion, I think they're probably going to go for it. That's one thing about business. They can hang on and hold on all they want, but right now it seems like demographics are starting to shift heavily, and they need to really ride this, this small window of opportunity that they have. And what I mean is, if you look at the comic side of things, the comic book industry has taken a hit. And I think, specifically because the demographics are really changing. A lot of the comic book readers, I think, have probably moved away from comic books for various reasons, but also I think as a matter of change of, people in their lives. Somebody is not the same person they were 10 years ago. Their interests are probably changing. And so because the other generations coming up, many of them have not necessarily been invested in this comic book side of things. It didn't seem like that tradition was passed on. So what's happened is, a natural demise of this industry. And if they continue to hold back on a lot of these video games, what's going to happen is the interest is going to continue to still die away, because demographics are going to continue to shift. I mean, think about people who played the last Arkham game. Now, I don't know if many of them are still going to be interested in playing the new Arkham game, but I can guarantee you that many of them are probably not going to have time or interest. So they've already lost a huge demographics of the potential player base every single year that they have wasted canceling a game or even moving a project back. So all these things come to mind, on this Batman game. And you have to say Warner Brothers will find themselves in a place where they're most likely going to spill the beans somehow. They have a good online presence, a good internet platform with their YouTube channel, their websites, their social media presence, and with, digital advertising that they can really push this game and, get it in front of everybody. I mean, I know people are saying if a game is depending on marketing for it to sell, then the game must not be really good. I do not agree with that. I think, there have been many good games that have died in obscurity because they did not have a big marketing budget. But they have been solid games, nonetheless. But because they had a very minimal budget, nobody really knows about them. So if a company has the deep pockets to do their marketing, and if the game is going to be legit, then they need to go ahead and do their marketing. At the end of the day, gamers are old enough to make their decisions anyways if they're going to purchase a product or not. So let me hear your thoughts about all of this. Thank you guys so much for your time and audience. I have changed the name of the channel. If you have not noticed, you're probably looking like, oh, who is this person? Well, it is me, but I've decided to change the name to closely match the brand from my main channel so that, both audiences can easily identify my work and see exactly what I do in different games. So let me hear your thoughts in the comment section, like I said, and we can continue this conversation in another video. Peace.